On my last photo walk, we checked out some nature and some train bridges with my Nikon camera, and during that photo walk, I was forced to use my smartphone to capture some of the images. Well, at the end of that video, I put out an option for you guys, the viewers, saying if you'd like me to do a smartphone photo walk, to comment down below, and if so, leave a suggestion on where we should go. Well, nearly everyone said yes, please do a smartphone photo walk, and many of you said a nature photo walk. So we are here today at Frances Slocum State Park. It is down here in Luzerne County. It's a beautiful lake here, and we are on a trail called the Lake Shore Trail, which borders the lake, which is actually right here behind me as we speak. This trail is going to go alongside the lake and then venture further inland and then loop around. I don't know the distance, but it's a decent walk. I was on this once before, and today we're going to be utilizing my smartphone, my Galaxy S10 Plus. By today's standards, this is an outdated phone, but it's my phone. I love using it. Don't have any plans of upgrading anytime soon because it still performs as a terrific phone. And this one has 3 lenses, a wide angle, a main camera, and a small telephoto lens. So you got 3 different lenses, or technically 3 different cameras with one device. I'm going to be using a couple different options for some special photo effects. I'm also going to be focusing mostly on landscape shots and some close-up details. So if you're ready, grab your camera and let's capture some moments. And also, it's imperative, regardless of what you're using, whether it's a smartphone or a camera, to make sure your lens is clean. So I always make sure to wipe off the lenses with my shirt just to make sure there's no smudges or smears that will affect photo quality. But now that we're ready to go, I do have my brightness turned up on the phone. Hopefully you should be able to see some of the images. And the one spot I want to focus on right here is some natural flowers. We have some white flowers here along the trail, and this is going to be a more close-up detailed shot. So one of the benefits of using your phone is that you have a larger screen, much larger than you would find on a traditional camera, even my Nikon. And with this phone and most smartphones, you could tap to focus. So I'm going to get close to the shot here, and depending on what I want to focus on, whether it's the background or the foreground, is where I would tap on the phone. I want the flower to be the main highlight here, the main focus. I'm going to tap on that. And if you tap again, it actually locks the focus in place. It'll stay focused there. So I'm going to capture that shot. Double check the review. And that's a good shot. Now, I'm not familiar with iPhones, but with most Galaxy phones, and I'll demonstrate here, that if you tap the focus twice, like I said, it locks it in. There's a little slider on the bottom. If you slide to the right, it raises the exposure. Slide to the left, lowers the exposure for lightening and darkening the photo. So you can actually do that before you take the photo just by locking the focus into place. And then you could get your right exposure depending on the look that you're going for. And speaking of which, I actually do like this shot right here. Now, with 3 different lenses, I could experiment with what I want to go for. I'm going to try 2 different shots. I'm going to go wide angle here, getting the lake and the trail. And then I'm going to do more of a zoomed in one going down the trail, a telephoto shot. Here's a shot of the lake, looking through some trees. I do like that the trees are providing some shade. So it's going to give a revealing shot. I'm going to take that photo right now. And what I'm going to do for you is show you the original photo right out of the camera. And then I'm going to show you the edited version so you can see the difference. What I feel is a good photo turns into a better photo if you do some slight tweaking to it. Down here near the water's edge, I just spotted these purple flowers. And this made me make for a good opportunity for a color pop. Now there's 2 different ways to do it. With my phone, if I go under portrait mode, I do have an option there for color pop, or it's called color point, where it'll just focus on a color and make everything else black and white. It works for the most part, most times, but I actually like to do it in post editing where I can actually select the color I want to have in color and everything else will go black and white. So regardless of what method you use, it's still the same principle. And I'm going to actually demonstrate two different shots. So with color point here, everything here in the middle is going to be in color, and it's going to kind of fade out towards the edges, which does give a pretty cool effect. See, that one I didn't capture as good as I wanted it to, so I'm going to try that again. Okay, that one came out better. It's a nice slow fade, or I should say soft fade from color to black and white. I'm going to do that same photo again though, and then do the post-editing version, and you'll be able to see the difference. I'm going to make sure I tap the focus so I have the right focal point there. All right, so two different methods, two different examples. It's all up to your creativity. Okay, I do see my next photo opportunity. One thing I love shooting is, there's a chipmunk. I love shooting trees, especially upwards. And we have a big tree here, big canopy on top of it. And I think this is gonna make for a great wide angle shot, shooting upwards. So I know you're not gonna be able to see too well, but I am, obviously holding it up, wide angle lens. And I'm actually going to do one more shot here, looking up the trunk of the tree. Yeah, I actually like that one better. And then for a comparison, or an alternative, trees offer multiple photo opportunities, so we can actually focus on the details of the bark here. So if I want to see the intricate lines and unique pattern of it, you get really close to it, focus on the closest part. And there we have a nice close-up shot of the bark. Right here we have a nice long straightaway shot, allows you to see down the trail. And for this shot, I want to focus on something in the foreground with the background being blurred. So what I want to find is something here, one of these weeds or little items here, where we could focus on that, and then everything else will be blurred in the distance. So I'm going to focus. There we go. And just to show as a comparison, if I want to change the perspective, I go focus in the distance, and the foreground is a little bit blurry. It's always up to what you want to capture, how you want the photo to look. Landscape is changing here. We're getting away from the greenery. More shady and barren. And here's a nice shot of the lake from here as well. Levee system over there. There's a bench with a fisherman. Some kayakers out there. Boat launch across the way. I think this year I'm going to be doing some kayaking here. So you may see this place on my main channel in a future video. I do like the floor here where it's all these needles. I think I'm going to try to get a shot of that. I'm going to go down closer to the ground and see what we could come up with. So a wide shot will show everything as a whole, not a whole lot of detail, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I actually think I may go portrait mode, standing it up and down like this, give it a taller shot. So I'm going to do that one. I'm actually going to get down now and hold the phone down against the floor or the ground. I'm actually going to tap the focus to get the needles in focus. Let's see how that photo came out. Yeah, that is a really good photo. And just by placing the phone on the ground, focusing on the foreground, really made that shot come to life. Well, I wasn't recording my last few shots. Mistake on my part. What I was explaining and gave examples of is the difference between an optical blur and a digital blur. And what that is basically when you get that blurred background or foreground on certain shots that I like to use on aperture mode, aperture priority on my Nikon camera. You can achieve that same effect on your phone. I'm not sure about iPhones, but at least on my phone, my Galaxy, two different ways. You could go into portrait mode, and there's an effect called blur. And depending on what you're focusing on, it's either going to blur the foreground or the background, but it's a digital blur. If you use just your main camera and get close to an object or a subject, that forced perspective will also give you a blurred background. Now they do look different, but similar. Depending on which effect you like better or which look you like better, will determine which method you want to use. Also at the same time, while capturing those shots, there was two canoers two people in a canoe boat passing by. I was able to get some shots of them through some leaves as a nice revealing shot as well. But wasn't recording, but I wanted to share with you what you missed when I was doing all that. Okay, right ahead of us here, we do have a patch of white flowers, and there's some bees coming and going. Not a big fan of bees, but I'm willing to try to capture a photo of one. So I'm going to wait here for a moment or two, see if we get a good opportunity, and see if we get some bee action. While I'm waiting to capture a nice detailed shot of that little patch of flowers right there. I'm going to go for another shot too, since we do have some time. I'm going to capture the flowers in the foreground, but showing the rest of the flowers blurred in the background. So it looks like we're looking at a little natural flower patch there. You can see more of the image as to what I see. Not super thrilled with that one. I'm going to try to take that shot again. I'm going to get right here in front of me here, make sure everything's nice and clear and focuses. All right, I was able to get a little tiny bee on the upper flower there. I think that shot will work. Seems like I'm a natural bee repellent for those flowers. I waited there about 5 minutes. I was only able to get that one, but we did get some other shots of those flowers that I think came out quite well. I'm going to cover some ground. If I remember correctly, this does go away from the lake a bit, and we'll have an area with some large rocks and a lot of nature's carpet, better known as moss. And I think that area will offer some different opportunities of photos. As luck would have it, just as I turned off the camera, a really big bumblebee was on these flowers. I was able to get a good shot of them. Still heading back, and I came upon an overgrown area with the flowers overhanging. And I think this would be a great wide angle shot, just showing the abundance of flowers, the trail, and the blue sky. So this is going to be a nice wide angle landscape shot. Getting to my next area, and this is a good opportunity to naturally frame a photo. On the left, grouping of trees. On the right, a single tree. And what looks to be like a window straight ahead of us here. So if I compose this correctly, I could use the grouping of trees and that single tree as the photo frame. And that'd be a framed window shot, so to speak, provided by nature. There we go. Good way to utilize nature and give yourself a natural frame and window. Here's where the trail does split. Left will go down near the lake. Right is up and away from the lake. That's the direction we're going. I honestly stop and take photos nearly every footstep I take. There's always something here in nature. Endless opportunities. But if that was the case, this would be a 2 or 3 hour photo walk. I like this shot here. We got the ferns leading the trail thicker into the woods. This should make for a nice wide angle shot, incorporating the trees, the trail, and those ferns, and a little bit of patchiness of the blue sky. Now, a simple creative shot I have demonstrated in the past is by picking up an object like this pine cone. If I can find a sunburst, all you got to do is hold it, position it wherever you want, and then you have a little creative shot. I go on my main camera. It's okay to show your fingers if you want to. I usually like to off-center it. That way you got some rule of thirds, but you can also see what's going on in the distance. I'm going to tap to make sure the pine cone is the main focal point. Bring down the exposure a little bit. And there's a simple creative shot with just a pine cone and a little burst of sun. So right here ahead of us we have some really tall pines, and it's pretty barren on the way up except for the top. And I think if we get underneath looking upwards, Oh yeah, that's going to make for an incredible shot right there. It's like the trees are reaching for the heavens. That may be one of my favorite photos so far. And don't forget to stick around to see my MFS OTD, my favorite shots of the day. Will be coming up towards the end of this video. Right now, I want to stop and take a moment to allow you to hear and see what I hear and see. This is a beautiful patch of woods here. Quiet from everything else aside from some birds chirping, a plane in the distance, and a breeze in the air. So I'm just going to slowly walk around, stay quiet, and allow you to take this in with me. Hope you enjoyed that. And while we were doing that, I spotted my next photo opportunity. We have this fallen tree here with some patches of nature's carpet on it. This is going to allow me to place the phone directly on top of the tree. And we're going to be able to tap the focus on that foreground. And it's going to show the distance. And I can also reverse that shot, stand the phone up, focus in the distance, and right there, it's going to allow us to get a similar shot, just different perspective, different composition. I stopped for a moment to change batteries in the camera, and notice this grouping of trees. From this perspective, they look perfectly normal. But as you come down to the base, they form like a glove or a hand with fingers. Especially when you close in on it like this. How cool is that? That's pretty awesome. All right, my next shot I want to get is this tree right here that has some sunbursts on it, relatively smooth bark. And I want to place the phone directly against it to get the camera as close as possible. And depending on which look I want is going to determine on how I want to position the phone. Not sure if you can even see it, but I'm trying to show you. Yeah, so right there, I think that's pretty good. We got a sunburst coming through, good detail on the bark. And depending on how I crop that, may alter the look, but yeah, I do like that shot. I think that came out pretty good. Just happened to work out perfectly with the sun coming through and the tree is nice and straight. All right, I have one more tree shot. Huge tree right here, giving a silhouette of the sun. And for this shot, I'm gonna do two different perspectives. I'm gonna do wide angle, portrait mode. I'm gonna bring the exposure down so it gives a silhouette. Then I'm gonna do a zoomed in shot where we have kind of the sun peeking through right there as a sunburst. We've come near the end of the trail. On this side, it's known as the Frances Slocum Trail, but we're starting on the other end. Still, for the most part, follow the lake. But I want to get one more shot right here of the ferns on the edge of the trail. And for this, I want to get down close to it. And let's see, I think I'm going to do a main camera shot here. I'm going to focus on the ferns in the foreground, and the trail will be darker and a little bit out of focus in the background as my final shot. Starting to warm up a little bit, had to take the hoodie off. As I walk back, I'd like you to take a few moments to sit back and check out my MFS OTD, my favorite shots of the day. So we're right back where we started from. After I exited the trail, we hung a right onto the road and another right and brought you back here. It's basically a loop, except part of it is walking alongside of the road to get down here. That trail though is phenomenal for photo opportunities and just for some peace and quiet, especially when you get away from the lake, the area where I allow you to see and hear what I see. It's just a beautiful, gorgeous spot. More photo opportunities than you could count or even imagine, whether it's trees, flowers, bees, pine needles, you name it, it has it. And you could take more photos than you probably could even think of just by walking a trail like that. But I will say, doing a smartphone photo walk is easy, it's simple, and allows you to get really creative. In my opinion though, traditional cameras like my Nikon, especially using prime lenses, do give you a better quality photo, especially when enlarging the photo. But smartphones are pretty much always on you, and most newer smartphones, especially newer than this one, offer really great camera lenses, different software opportunities for creativity, and just overall easy to use. Point, touch the focus if you want, and take your photo. Especially ones that have multiple cameras, it allows you to really capture the moment no matter where you go. I'd love to hear your thoughts on your favorite shots of the day, and to see more photo walks, just go to my photo walks playlist, and I'll be looking out for my next location and photo walk with my Nikon camera, because I do have a few other ideas in mind that I think you guys will enjoy coming along for. Otherwise, thanks very much for coming along for this photo walk, and I'll see you behind the camera real soon. Thanks for watching.